Hello sports fans, welcome back to the Bailiwick Sport Podcast with me, Elliot Corbell. In this episode we celebrate 100 years of the Jersey Badminton Association as 2024 marks the historic club's centenary year. I'm joined today by three key members of the JBA, current president Steve Leroy, junior academy coach and Island Games team manager Rob Armstrong, and one of the all-time greats of the sport, Ian Coombs-Goodfellow. There's a lot of laughs in this one, and it was great to get to celebrate an incredible achievement for a local club reaching 100 years. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy. Gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining me today. Excited to be here?
Very much so.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Ian, you jumped in there straight away. I'm going to start with you with the first question of today, because I've been doing my research on your extensive list of records through the JBA years, going right back to the 70s, first wins in the 80s, and the list of accolades is pretty extraordinary, both in Jersey Senior Closed, Jersey Opens, and in the Island Games, of course. Does winning ever get boring?
No, but it was always a challenge. It was never straightforward. So, yeah, no, I've always loved sport, so absolutely not. You play to win, or I think most people do, as long as you enjoy it.
That competitive streak, was that something that was always in you?
Yes, I think so. I think I've got an older brother. He was always very, very sporty, 5 years older, so I always lost to him at everything we did. And I got used to losing, but then obviously as I got bigger and got older, it made a difference.
I'm going to throw some numbers at you now, okay? So please don't be too bashful here. 2 singles titles in the Jersey Open, 4 doubles titles and 1 mixed doubles title. Jersey Closed, 12 singles titles, including 7 in a row. It's a bit selfish if you ask me, but 17 doubles titles, 14 of course with Mr. Steve Watson, and 5 mixed doubles titles, including 3 in a row with your lovely wife Kerry. 9 appearances at the Island Games, the most of any Jersey badminton player. 5 times as captain. We've got 1 gold medal in the doubles with Steve in 1985, 4 silvers, 7 bronze, 4 team golds overall, including 3 in a row as a team in Gibraltar 95, Jersey 97, which we'll come on to later, and Gotland 99, 4 team silvers and 2 team bronzes. But most importantly, I've just found out 5 minutes ago that your wife Kerry has more individual titles. How does that feel?
I believe she does, and that's something that I only found out probably a couple of days ago, but fair play to her. And she of course only came to Jersey when she was 25 or whatever, but obviously she was a quality player from Nottingham, and I think that's a little one. I haven't told her actually, so I might just keep it under my jumper until she hears it on here.
Surprise.
Absolutely amazing. Right, I want to take you guys back to your first experiences of playing badminton in general. I'm going to come to you, Steve. Tell me a little bit about your earliest experiences.
Well, I used to play in St Mark's Church Hall, which is used to be beside St Mark's Church in David Place. It's no longer there now. It's been developed as accommodation. The hall had suspended heaters from the roof. It had quite a low ceiling. So we were played a lot faster game. But we had 1 court and a makeshift net on the court, on the stage behind the main court, and it was quite it was quite a difference to the the facilities that we have now.
Was it a love at first sight for you?
I've always been quite sporty through loads of the different things that I've done over the years, but my mum and dad played badminton. And it was just, I got into there. I used to help out with Doc Le Breton at the time. We used to do the training, and I used to help on a Saturday afternoon and do training through, some of the names that have been up through the ranks as well, that you will have seen on the walls at the hall. So, it's good. It's kind of rewarding to see some of those that have been through and then come back, and some that are still playing.
Absolutely. All 4 of us here have been involved in coaching with the JBA at some point or not. Rob, I'll come to you. As a current coach, tell me a little bit about your earliest experiences.
I've probably been around it for my whole life. There's pictures on the board when I'm very little with my sort of parents both playing, godmother playing, so it's kind of been, but my mum and sort of my dad were out my family have actually played badminton, but I was obviously been around ever since I was little. Didn't really start picking up a racket until I was about 6. I think it was Joe Cunningham's sort of come down to like a Monday, sort of after school, have a little go, kind of experience really, and then that kind of sort of evolved from there, and doing more sessions from that, and then through to sort of Ian's Sunday morning little bash around and that sort of stuff. So it kind of evolved through basically both parents being there, I'm there when they were playing, just being around the hall more or less from the same hall we have now, basically.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier before there, Ian, about having your older brother and being competitive with him and what that. When was it that you took your love of badminton and took that into the new Gilson Hall, and how important has that been in the general development of the JBA?
Yeah, I mean, everyone who played back in the 70s and 80s, I guess I was 11, so it would have been early 70s, 74, 75, and great memories of the old hall, the original Gilson Hall, which was in Russell Street. I mean, it was only 3 courts. It hadn't seen a lot of injection of funds or refurbishment, I guess, since the 1920s. I mean, upstairs, and I can remember, Elliot, playing with your dad there in those days.
I'm so sorry.
No, your dad was a very good and still is a great friend. But I can remember your dad coming up and playing in junior tournaments. And in those days, it was on 2 levels. There was a spectators gallery, and it was the old cinema seats that we had there. And there were like 5 or 6 rows of cinema seats and 3 courts, a great, fantastic sprung floor. You used to be able to actually walk under the floor, and it was big enough even for someone of my 5'7" or whatever. You could walk under it, and yeah, it's just great memories. And you look at it, I can hark back and go back to watching an inter-insular against Guernsey, and the atmosphere when that was full, and the same much must be said about the new hall as well. And a hell of a lot of people put in an awful lot of work for that new hall, and it was just before the Island Games, which was probably one of the first reasons we got the hall, I think, and just fantastic. The atmosphere that those games, the very first games in, trying to think when it was.
Was that 97, was it?
No, 97, well that was I think I
The
got
hall
this
was,
right.
the hall was open in 95.
Yeah, sorry, it was 97. Yeah, 97. The decades tend to pass now. But yeah, it would have been 97. I think the hall opened in 96 officially. Lieutenant Governor came up and opened it. But somebody like Jeff Shepherd would be a man of note. He was the president at the time, leading up to us getting the hall. And Jeff in particular put in so much work for us to get that hall. And, you know, we had players coming over playing county matches, and they could not believe that we had a hall of that standard and of that a facility of that standing. It was, and it remains today. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think I can speak for anyone who's been down to the new Gilson Hall behind Dover School, that it is an absolutely top-notch facility. I mean, I've played over at university as well and travelled around to these massive sports unis, and we're playing in general sports halls, you know, with multi-court floors and things like that, and all the money that these unis have got. And I come home and to the Gilson Hall.
The only thing that hasn't changed from the old hall is the temperature. When it's cold, it's blisteringly
You're
cold.
quite right. That you need layers definitely until you get warmed up. But going back to what you said there, Ali, I'd agree. I mean, we play county matches against fairly decent counties, and you know, you're playing in multi-purpose courts. With markings all over the place. It was only really some of the really top counties. I remember Middlesex, Surrey had purpose-built courts, Yorkshire. Fantastic.
And we talk about a 5-court facility, again, reasonably rare. I remember going over to Guernsey and playing in their hall, where the hall was an inch higher than your head, and nothing off the back of the court was just hitting the wall. I remember finding that pretty
Let's hope they're
challenging.
not listening to this.
If we look at the academy side of it, again, all 4 of us have been involved in the coaching side of it. How important is our facility to facilitating the academy through the years and now? Rob, I'll come to you for that one.
Massive, because obviously it's a pathway through to getting more people playing, so it's just like an open door. So we talk about now, we've got more or less 2 kind of sessions each week that are kind of like an open door. One, it might be a term time, but it's just try and get as many children through. So one of the sessions on a Wednesday, which is like a term time session, we can, for example, last week we had 19 children out of 20 spaces all turn up to play, and then mixed ages, mixed ability, just to get them through the door, which is fantastic.
And we have the upstairs area as well for awards
parents.
Nights and parents and things like that. You've got a kitchen up there that we can never get you out of when people are there. It really does offer an amazing place and a big space to get lots of people down there in general. And you mentioned things about the Island Games, where we're able to get lots of people down there. Of course, the last one for us was 2015.
Yes.
Am I correct in saying that? Where that was that Mark Constable's first year as captain?
Yep.
And he goes on and wins the gold medal in the singles.
Yeah, Mark was absolute class. I mean, Mark was a different level to anyone that's ever played in Jersey. Other than Elizabeth, obviously on the ladies' side. But Mark, I mean, he played all his badminton in the UK. First time I came across Mark was probably when we were doing the circuit to qualify for the Commonwealth Games, and that year actually he won the nationals, and he just at a different level. I always said to people who maybe didn't know anything about badminton, if you like sport and you can appreciate a decent sportsman, come down and watch Mark play another decent competitor, because it's great to watch. You see, it's a different level.
I think one of the best matches I saw was Mark and Ulrich, when Ulrich was over. The two of them.
That was a close.
Ulrich was from Denmark, and the two of them going at it on a court, both of them for their honour.
I remember umpiring that. That was quite a tense thing to umpire. I went to 3, I think.
I think it was setting close in the third. I think it was very close.
You've never seen so many people stood watching the match. Nobody wanted to go home.
It was just a different level. That was probably the last close they did before we have done one this year.
I mean, I think you can tell somebody from the way that they sort of carry themselves, especially in their own sporting domain, of just what a level they've played at and how comfortable they are in those surroundings.
I mean, it was obvious when Mark first came over. Obviously we'd got to know him then, and he's just a different level. But the good thing was he was very keen to help everyone as well, and he would. It wouldn't be long before. And I always remember Kerry saying this. She turned up for the first interinsular against Guernsey and thought, well, it's only Jersey, Guernsey, And then 5 or 10 minutes into it, she realised exactly what it meant to certainly the Jersey players, and she was much the same, after having played one. And because it's good. Great rivalry, and I guess we all have got great friends in Guernsey over the years.
On the lesser island.
Well, I was fortunate enough to play quite a few interinsulars against a Guernsey lad who was in the Guernsey cricket team as well. Okay. So we met each other across 2 different sports, and I think there was 2 years in a row where he beat me twice a year across both sports, and I couldn't stand the sight of it. But you mentioned there, Ian, about talking there about Mark and being a bit of a local hero, but let's not forget about Miss Elizabeth Khan.
No, exactly.
What an incredible hero to the women's sport on Ireland, let alone badminton, that she's been.
And exactly. And I think she was a great example, if you like, of someone who was very gutsy. In my opinion, she, at the time, we had another junior come through at exactly the same time, and they both represented England at junior level. And I always thought that the other player, Danielle Lefevre, was actually a little bit more talented, naturally talented, whereas Elizabeth was a real gutsy player who really just knuckled down and really worked out every point. And you've got to take hats off to what she did. She made a decision to leave Jersey at a relatively young age, and and went on and achieved, winning the national title on a number of occasions, which was great.
It is interesting. You see that if anybody goes up to the New Gilson Hall and they look at the leaderboards, obviously you can't miss seeing your name, Ian. But you see Elizabeth Khan up there, and only once or twice and whatnot, and people might gloss over that. But as you mentioned, she did leave at a young age, and
exactly
would have completely filled that board with multiple years of her name
undoubtedly.
And alongside her as well, of course, was Mariana Agathangelu. What an incredible player she was as well.
Fantastic. A left-hander, great, really, really talented player, great doubles player. And it was a delight to not grow up because I didn't grow up with them, but to still be able to be on court and play in island games and whatever with the calibre of players like that. It was fantastic.
And largely for what you've done as well when you used to help with the coaching, that would have helped to influence them and develop them as well. So it's
I don't think I can really take. I don't think I can really take any credit for that. Kerry actually did quite a lot of work, and Steve Watson. Kerry and Steve did quite a bit of work with Mariana when she was young and up until when she left the island.
I remember Steve coaching me back in the day, and every time I'd drop my racket, he'd make me run around the hall 5 times.
I remember that as well.
God, I must have driven him up the wall. I used to think he didn't like me, but now having worked with kids for a long time, I think I was just one of those. Sorry, Steve, if you're listening. That was.
You will be listening, I'm sure. No, I mean, Steve. Again, let's talk about Steve for a bit, because when Steve first came over, I can remember it was 82 actually. He was at a different level than anyone else on the island really. He played for Surrey, which was a top county at the time. But I have a lot to be grateful for Steve. I've always said that. We were playing paddle earlier today, and a hell of a lot of time and respect for Steve. We're still very, very good friends. But he took me under his wing, I guess, because after about 6 months, he said, maybe you could see a little bit of something.
Potential there.
Maybe. But he said, if you want to play...
14 doubles titles later, yeah.
If you want to play regularly, we'll do it, and we'll do it properly. And Steve's the type of person, if he's going to do something, he's going to do it properly. And I learned so much over the years from Steve, both on and off court, really.
So let's jump ahead a few years to sort of as we're sitting here now. We've got a few young stars who have come through and are already competing in Island Games, things like that. Players like Cameron Hunt, Alex Hutchings. Where do we see the level now compared to we might have been, say, back in your guys' day, if you like? What do you think, Rob?
I think there's quite a few different factors in play now. I think there were more players able to afford to go away when Ian and that were travelling, and there was a bigger team to travel away. I think now there's a lot more financial pressure on a lot of people. Also, back then when we were young, for what we can remember of it, you picked a sport and you did it. The kids now are spoilt. They've got so many different sports, whether it's cricket and gymnastics and then swimming and then badminton and football, and again the financial burdens on the parents of trying to accommodate all of these different sports is astronomical. The football with new kits every so often, the badminton with the different
because even the inventory you got now from the amount of sporting events available, we just done one for work and it's hundreds of different clubs, and then all spin-offs from the main sports we used to have. So these spin-off options, and it's not just the same sport now. It's an amalgamation of maybe 3 or 4 sports put together, and then trying to combine it, and people bring sports where they come from, which is fantastic to have more wider range of sports coming across to the island and all that sort of stuff. But then when you're trying to find it down to what you want to do, the catalogue is so big. Trying to keep them in.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more. If you look at how even technology has developed over the last 10, 15 years, I hate to say it, but undoubtedly there are kids still sitting in their rooms playing on their PlayStation 100%. And doing whatever. Yeah, whereas, fortunately, when I grew up, those sort of things weren't available to us. So if we weren't kicking a football around in the garden or down the park, we wanted to get out and do things. And I just think... And I think, we've got to remember as well, badminton has, and for many will always be regarded as a minority sport. The football is always going to be our main sport as a nation, I think. I think what the work that the rugby club have done over the last 20 years, I think since England won the World Cup, that great win that time, they really made the most of that. I thought, you know, really got all their academies together, got so many kids up there on a Sunday morning. It became quite difficult for some of the smaller sports, I think, and the so-called lesser sports, if you like, because all the kids were going in different directions, whether it be football or, which is great, because it's great to see kids. But then on top of that, you've got this technology surge where kids are playing on games and maybe not going out and getting out.
It's like a stop, isn't it? It's like a little speed bump. Trying to slow people down.
Let's dive into
We
that.
have had quite a drive though. We've seen, I mean, this week we've had 2 or 3 inquiries about people wanting to come and join in, and it's parents inquiring for secondary school children who want to come and play, who are playing at school. So it's good that the badminton and the sports are getting out, and that's going to be through Jersey Sport and the like. They're getting getting these sports into the schools, and people are enjoying trying them again. So we've got junior sessions, we've got Sunday pay and plays for the juniors as well, with all these sessions going. And it's great that we've got so many people coming at the moment. The hall is full to bursting point on a Wednesday. You can't get in for trying. We've got clubs during the week. I think it's a quiet night on a Tuesday or and then a Friday, but other than that the hall is buzzing, and it's so good and so encouraging to see so many people coming back. But following lockdown, we had a real surge following lockdown. The hurricane as well did us well, because we then had a lot of people come to badminton. We had then the pickleball came to use the hall as well, so they're coming then to see what we've got facilities. So it's good that we've hopefully have the ability to cross sell and
and I think what these two guys are doing from an old boy's point of view, because you want to see badminton thrive, you want to see badminton do well. I think what these two are doing is great, and unfortunately, with any of these things, it takes somebody to work their socks off behind the scene, and it's great. And another person that's worth a mention in that respect is someone like Kim Jesperson. Yeah, Kim's been around for years, and by his own admission, not the top sort of player. But the hours that he must have given over the years, and he's been doing it for a long time.
Not just coaching, it's the facility behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Well,
I mean,
he was one of my first league partners when I started playing league all those years ago. Yeah,
I can remember,
used to coach me. Yeah.
I can remember Kim coming down on a tournament or whatever, and one of the floorboards had gone or whatever, and he's there and he's doing running repairs, and then he'd be doing something else, and nothing was ever too much trouble, or is too much trouble for Kim.
Still doing it now.
Yeah.
He's got his little wooden tiles ready to go whenever something slips or breaks.
That's why I can never get him to do anything on my own.
No, it's true. He's a busy man.
I try to get him, and he's always so busy. But fair play to him, because he's.
This is what you see in these sports: is it's run by your everyday people, and it takes those volunteers, the people like yourself, Rob, now, and Stephen, people like that, to give up their time to keep this running. And you mentioned badminton maybe being a slightly minnow sport. Here we are, sat here 100 years on.
I know.
From the start. You mentioned your footballs and things like that, with all the money going in the world and all the interest and all the eyeballs, and here we are sticking with them completely.
And it really is something to celebrate, I think. And
absolutely.
I can think of my first experiences and some of the real characters back to the day when the playing attire and the rackets used to play with wooden rackets and put them in a press after you'd come off court to keep so they didn't warp. I can remember things like that, and it's great, and we should be celebrating 100 years. And again, I'm sure you're aware, we recently had a function that Lindsay, I keep saying Lindsay Woodward, but it's not Lindsay Woodward, it's now Lindsay. Oh, Lindsay Woodward. You'll have to take that out.
So Lindsay that used to be active.
Say it again.
Yeah,
say it again.
I think we were very lucky recently, thanks to Lindsay Woodward, who put in an awful lot of time to organise a centenary dinner, and what a success that was. I think it was oversubscribed within about within weeks.
Yeah,
people were asking for tickets. And it was just, we had people travel from the UK who had left, played their badminton in Jersey, left Jersey. And it was just fantastic. It was a great evening.
Yeah, I think about 100 people.
Yeah. Well, I think it was as much as the venue could take. They couldn't take any more.
I think Lynn had done a great job. She's absolutely invaluable. She took that off my hands and did it all for us because
she
pressures of work. But I think she pushed them to max it out at 105, 106 or something.
Well, I think they had to change the venue, didn't they? If I'm right in thinking, initially it was somewhere else.
I think there was some changes to it, but I think the venue we got was amazing.
Yeah, and it was a great evening. Really good people bringing up memories.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the oldest by some distance.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, gents, I was doing some research for this, and I was looking back through all the old Island Games records, and it's funny when things like that come around, similar with the Olympics and things like that, and you see these reasonably random sports that some countries are just really good at, and there always seems to be a sort of guaranteed medal for them. Jersey has been extremely strong in showing the Island Games how it's done on the badminton court. Obviously, Ian, you've won 5 golds yourself as a team, and Rob, of course, recently manager of the Jersey team in the latest Island Games. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, that was quite an interesting experience because obviously that was in Guernsey, so it brought a few people from the past who wanted to give it a go, which is great to see, and like open up people back in, especially with COVID, and back off that, because obviously it was meant to be run in Guernsey during COVID time, and things happen and things evolve. But no, overall it was a really good experience. Quite interesting to see how you see now when we hear stories about how many different islands were taking part back now to having more islands are now wanting to take part in badminton. I think we gained something like Orland and all that sort of stuff recently, and Foyer and what they think they were the first ones to join this Island Guernsey, so it's great to see it's expanding. No, overall, it was a really good experience, but you can see how the level of these smaller islands are going, right, this is our Commonwealth Games or our Olympics.
Yeah, I think, for me, I'm a great supporter of the Island Games, and you mentioned the success in that in the past, and a lot of that, I think, was down to the fact we knew if we trained and played, it was our level, and we could be successful. And I remember right from the very first one, 85, we put in a lot of work. We everything else for sort of 6 weeks, 8 weeks beforehand was put to one side. No football, no cricket. You just got all. I can remember playing a few cricket games where I probably shouldn't have done with your dad, and turning up to training a little bit 10 minutes later.
Nobody should play cricket with my dad.
And I'm sure Steve made us run rounds.
No.
But the Island Games are great because it's a decent level. It's a very good level. And we knew if we trained hard and put everything together and went as a team rather than a team of individuals, we'd do well.
How does it feel to win an Island Games gold medal?
I think the best one for me was Jersey on the home games when we won it the first time, which was 97. I think because then we went on 97, 99 in Gotland, and we retained it. But winning it for the first time in Jersey with a home crowd was just phenomenal.
That was the second of 3 in a row. So team gold Gibraltar 95, team gold Jersey 97.
Yeah, so actually the first time we won it was Gibraltar. Yeah, and then we defended it in Jersey, that's right.
That must have been incredible.
A bit more special in Jersey in front of a home crowd.
Yeah, the crowd were fantastic. I mean, it sounds silly, we're talking about Jersey, we're not talking about Wembley or anything, but it was absolutely amazing, the atmosphere. And in fact, I read somewhere recently, some guy, a local person, I'm not going to mention his name because I might get it wrong, but he was asked what his most favourite sporting moment was, and he's probably in his 70s, might not do him justice there, but he turned around and said watching the badminton, and he didn't come from a badminton background. The badminton Island Games win in 97 for him, the atmosphere and everything. And the good thing is with the Island Games, it brings the community together. You get people coming down watching who don't know anything about badminton, but you also get other players and other management team and whatever from other sports coming to watch you. And to do it on the Jersey in 97, get it right, Ian, was great memory. Yeah.
You get all the friends from the other islands as well. When the guys came over, the teams came over in 2015, I found friends that I actually played with when I was living in Scotland, and they were moved to Orkney.
The Island
That
Games,
was
as you say,
amazing.
the big friendships. I mean, we've got, Kerry and I have got them friends from all over the place, places that Greenland. How on earth would you ever have a friend in Greenland? But people, and you do build up great relationships.
It's great because, like I said, the Guernsey one over here, was my first one I managed, but it was my fourth one because the Jersey was my first one. I was involved in the tennis, so I had to sneak in to go and watch the badminton team event final. I had to sneak in with my parents because my dad was involved, all my family was involved in different positions. So we all snuck in that Sunday evening or the Monday evening to watch the team event final.
Yeah.
We managed to finish the tennis early. So Rob, you go off. So I ran off and we snuck in. I think we had to get right at the top balcony, back corner. Right on
it was great.
But going with that, this is now obviously my fourth one last year, and I'm now team manager. I was networking with these people from the Isle of Man, all sorts, and they just said, look, now involved with the committee for the Commonwealth Island Games now. So it's quite interesting to see how the network and the support you get from your own Island Games committee.
Yeah, fantastic.
With our sort of president Steve Jacobs, all them sort of stuff. When they say what event you got on, we had Matt and Alex in the bronze medal match, or the semi-finals. They all swarmed over. It was like unreal kind of support you get from networking from everywhere.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Great friendships, like to last your life, really.
Yeah.
Right, chaps, we're going to finish with a pretty simple question, but I want a strong answer from each of you, okay? Because I had an argument recently with somebody who, because I said to him that badminton was the fastest racket sport in the world, and he looked at me like I was delirious. And I've just Googled it again. The world record fastest badminton smash, 565 kilometres an hour, which is 351 miles an hour. I enjoy my cricket, and I wouldn't fancy a cricket ball coming at me at 350 miles an hour. Why is badminton such? I have just Googled it, so I can confirm that it's correct. You see that. An Indian gentleman, I won't even try and pronounce that name. Why is badminton the best sport?
Well, you get a full aerobic stretch. You get your cardio, you get your aerobic, and you've got your camaraderie as well. You get a far better workout. You get an all-over body workout with badminton.
Yeah, not just to add to that, I would probably say it's one of the most social sports you can play. If you look across the whole world, how many people are actually playing it, you can have anyone who can be just want to play with mates, just have a game, to actually playing proper competitive games. It's one of the only sports you need two people. Where a lot of people want to go and play football, want to go play cricket, want to go play sports, but require a team to play. Badminton, you even see people who've not played for 20, 30 years come down and play, and they just play with their friends. We've got societies that we probably can hear down that are been playing for 30, 40, 50 years and just want to come and play. So it's just one of the most social sports you can have, which is people don't realise that you can just turn up any sports centre and you can go.
I just loved it from the moment I started playing with my dad and my brother. I got hooked, I suppose, and it is a very challenging game. I think people who have played it at a certain level understand. People's perception of badminton sometimes is walking past somebody at Fort Regent, seeing them patter the shuttle backwards and forwards to themselves. But for me, it had everything. You had skill, speed, agility, everything, and it bringing all of those skills together. Fantastic, and made so many friends over the years.
Gents, are we going to be around in another 100 years?
These might, I won't be.
So we might not be, but I'm sure the association will be.
Congratulations, all three of you, for your incredible hard work for the association over the many years. As myself, growing up, spending half my teens in the Gilson Hall with all three of you gentlemen playing a huge role in that. Thank you from me, and thank you to everybody who's been a part of the JBO throughout the years. And it's been great to have you on the Bailiwick Sport podcast. I hope you've all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll join you on the next one.